You're listening to the Deep Purple Podcast, a fan podcast about one of the most legendary bands of all time, Deep Purple. We take a look at the music, history, and people behind the band Deep Purple and beyond. Welcome to the Deep Purple Podcast, the first and only podcast devoted to one of the greatest bands in rock history, Deep Purple. Today's episode is episode number 117, Bobby Harrison, Funkist. And coming to you from the tornado-ravaged, deceptive, and sneaky suburbs of Chicago, I'm your host, Nathan Beaudry.
And coming to you from just 9.5 miles outside of Providence, a mere 9.5 miles.
Not bad.
I'm your co-host, John Camel Matola.
Camel. I'm hoping, I'm thinking you probably didn't have camel for dinner. And I'm thinking you probably
I'm not that adventurous.
Didn't smoke Camel cigarettes before we started recording.
I didn't think of that one.
I haven't seen your pants,
No,
so I don't know if you have a camel toe right now.
No, they're pretty baggy. They're pretty, but I do wear some tight pants when I go out. Like early Rod Evans.
Early Rod,
just not as shiny.
I was thinking once again, bad news. or Glenn
No.
Hughes packing the heat there. He's usually got something going on.
Yeah. Well, he can pull it off. No, I just been drinking a lot of water.
Ah, gotcha.
That's it.
It's a good thing to do.
Like a camel, my friend.
I was planning
it's a good thing to hydrate.
I was planning on drinking a lot of water for today's episode, but instead, after the 24 hours I've had, went to beer. We were just talking before the episode, and we had been kind of texting, but a tornado touched down about a mile from our house last night, and it actually, interestingly, in my sister-in-law's backyard is where the official point of touchdown was recorded, and then just made a beeline straight diagonally for another friend of mine's house, and did a ton of damage to their two properties. And fortunately it could have been a lot worse, and there was one house that just completely leveled, and it was like the national news this morning when I woke up, and had to come home late from work, grab all the kids, throw them in the basement, and hunkered down rather for an hour and a half, and right in not in the studio here, but on the other side where there's video games and stuff. Kids didn't even remember it this morning. We were all groggy, and then had multiple swim practices and meets and a water polo game, and woo, what a day. Which is why oh no, go ahead, you first.
I'm gonna say luckily it completely missed you.
Yes, I mean, yeah,
mile away.
Pretty mild here. I mean, it got really windy. We could hear the rain and the hail and everything, but it was, the damage at me and my nearby neighbors was pretty much nothing. They've actually closed down the pool in the neighborhood at my sister-in-law's, and they've got she sent an aerial shot of it. There's like all the like tables and chairs like in the pool, so they're trying to figure out like and knock down all the fences and stuff, and just driving around today. Like, I was taking my son to a doctor's appointment, and I started going down one street, it was closed. I went to another street, it was closed. I doubled back, went another way, it was closed, and I finally ended up just calling them and saying, sorry, I don't know how to get to your place today. We're gonna have to do this some other time. It was just everywhere you drove, the police station right down the street, just a tree just dead center, like smashed the roof in. I sent you a picture before. Crazy.
Yeah, wow.
Our only casualty was the slide on my kid's place that got skewered by a branch that must have been going 100 miles an hour. Went straight through.
That was pretty wild.
Crazy.
Was wild. That picture was wild. I gotta say, I guess the John Lord was up there looking out for you.
Yeah,
he must have been.
John and Tommy had my back.
Because they obviously wanted you to do tonight's episode.
Exactly. Well, and Which brings me to
It could have
tonight's episode.
easily been canceled.
So we teased this week's episode last week by saying that you weren't looking forward to it, and if you listened to the intro, well, if you listened, John listened to the intro, you noticed that I did not say the name of the episode we were planning on doing, but another.
Yeah, I'm very confused right now.
Which I thought you would
Very
be.
confused.
Which is that was kind of the way I was deceiving you. So, well, we'll get to that in a minute, but first,
you bastard.
well, you know what? Let's talk about it now. So, we weren't looking forward to this next episode, although I'm kind of looking forward to it because it'll be just for your reactions alone are going to be great when we finally do get to this album that we were going to do tonight. But a few weeks ago, our listener Jeff Bryce sent me, or we were just emailing back and forth about something, and he mentioned this album. Oh, you should check this album out. And I was like, okay, cool. So I checked it out, and I was just like, wow, this album is, never heard of it. Wasn't familiar really with the guy. We'll get into that in a little bit. And we'll get into the obvious Deep Purple connections. So I listened to it and was just blown away. And it's without question the 2021 album that I've already listened to more than any other album. Just been playing it nonstop. It's a great album. It's available on Spotify. You can get it on Amazon Music. You can get CDs available. I've got the CD, the LP, paid for the download, and all in on this one. And
wow.
So we'll get into it in a little bit. Hopefully, I'm not overselling it, but for me, really enjoyed it. Thought it was a cool album that I'd never really heard of before, and to go from 0 to 60 from never having heard of it to having it just be an awesome album that I'm super pumped on is pretty cool. So we will get into that and the obvious connections with Deep Purple in just a little bit. But first, we have to talk about supporting the show. So if you like what you're getting from the Deep Purple podcast and you want to support us, help us repair tornado damage in our backyards, whatever we use that money for. John would be more hurricane damage. I'd be tornado damage. You can give us as little as $1 a month. You can do that by becoming a patron on Patreon or donating on PayPal. You can buy merch at our Etsy store, and you can also leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. That is always appreciated. So, speaking of the wonderful folks that help support this show, we have to kick it off with our executive level patrons. At the $20 Shades of Deep Pockets tier, we have Ryan M. At the $15 Highball Shooter tier, we have Alan Ain't Too Proud to Beg. At the Turn It Up to $11 tier, Frank Thielgard Mortensen, Clay Wambacher, and Mikkel Steen. And at the $10 Someone Came tier, Steve Seaborg of NameOnAnything.com and AllTheWorldsAstage.net, the aforementioned Jeff Bryce, Gerald Kelly, and Victor Campos. We thank you all so much for your support of the Deep Purple podcast. We could not do it without you, or it at least would not be as fun. All right. So, as I said, I was talking to Jeff Bryce, and he just kind of offhandedly mentioned this album. Bobby Harrison. So he was born in 1939 in London, started in the 50s with a group called the Rockefellers. And then in 1960s, he formed the group Power Pack and put out singles in 1966 and 67. Now, where most people know him from is he's a founding member of Procol Harum. And he was in the band when they recorded A Whiter Shade of Pale, which everyone has heard. And soon after that, he and the guitarist of the band, Ray Royer, quit to form another band called Freedom. Now, Freedom would go around. They played dates with Black Sabbath, Jethro Tull, the James Gang. They got a lot of attention for a cover they did of the Beatles song Cry Baby Cry. And eventually Freedom kind of disbanded, and Bobby Harrison went to join the band Snafu. Now, I don't know if you know the Snafu connection there, but Snafu was an early band of Mickey Moody. So in between those two bands, he put together this album, which was a solo album. He worked with Mickey Moody on this album and started to form and forge this songwriting relationship with Mickey Moody. Kind of started here and then takes them into the Snafu era. So Freedom's last album was called Is More Than a Word. He goes and does this. In 1972, he left Freedom. He started collaborating, like I said, with Mickey Moody. Mickey Moody had been playing in Juicy Lucy before that. great name. And this album is considered the missing link between those two bands. The confusing part of this is that the Snafu album out in 1973. This album we're going to listen to came out in 75, but that's only because he recorded it, and then the record company said, we're not going to release this right away. When Snafu started to get a little popularity, they released it to make the most of this album. So while it was released after, it is the interim project between those two. So Harrison says, I didn't know what to do after Freedom broke up, and I was approached by my management to do a solo album. So I thought, okay, I got all these songs floating about. I decided also that I could pick and choose all the musicians. Harrison said that this album was ready to go, but the record company shelved it for a while, and that's why it came out after Snafu. So in this album, we have the personnel Bob Sargent. Bob Sargent was a record producer, mixer, studio technician. He worked with XTC, Joy Division, and Motorhead. Chris Stewart on bass. He's an Northern Irish bass player, played with Spooky Tooth and Joe Cocker. Clem Catini, who is the drummer for Humble Pie. He had also been considered as a drummer for Led Zeppelin before they went with John Bonham. Henry McCulloch, who we've talked about before, the guitar player with Wings and who played a lot of the guitar in Jesus Christ Superstar. Herbie Flowers, who is a bassist with David Bowie, Elton John, and Lou Reed. And then a gentleman on the drums who they credit on the album as Ian Paice, but they spell his name wrong. It is Ian Paice. You know who Ian Paice is, so there's one connection there. Matthew Fisher.
Who?
What's that?
I said who?
Who? Ian who? Ian Paste.
Ian who?
I don't know if they did that because of the symbols, like paste symbols or pasty. I don't know how they pronounce it, but Matthew Fisher, who was the keyboardist from Procol Harum, and he was also Sorry from the Green Bullfrog Band. So another connection there. Mickey Moody, okay. Obviously we're very familiar with Mickey and his. I think we'll get into it when we get into the songs. Ray Owen does backing vocals. He was a singer with Juicy Lucy. And a certain guitarist that you may have heard of named Tony Iommi on guitar on this one.
Get out of here.
Oh. And then finally, Walter Monahan, bass. He did songwriting. He was a bass player and singer in Freedom. He later on went to work with Ted Nugent. So that's the lineup of musicians. Pretty solid group. Wow.
Okay.
So that was
as I like to say, no slouches here.
No slouches at all. And when it was presented to me that Iommi, Pace, all this, I was all instantly in on it, and had to hear it. So, so I will say this: I found a contact for Bobby Harrison, so I reached out to him. Sadly, I got a reply saying that he was not well. He's turning 82 years old this week as we record. So this will come out a little bit after his 82nd birthday. And I basically was asking because the thing is on the liner notes, they say all of these names, but they don't say who plays on what. And that's frustrating to me. But there's a few things I think we can listen to and kind of figure out. Like, so I was talking to our buddy Rich, a listener of the show, friend of the show, friend of the hosts of the show, all around great guy and source of great information. And I had kind of dropped this album on him a week or two ago, and he had also not heard of it, but he listened, and we were batting around some ideas like, oh, I think maybe this guy in this track or that guy in this track. So as we go through, we can kind of figure that out. So I contacted Bobby Harrison, got that reply back, and I was just basically saying, hey, I would love to chat with you and figure out if I could try to nail down who played what. And the gentleman who responded to me was very nice. Let's see if I can find the email. He was a very nice guy. And he said, you know what, I'll send you a copy of Bobby's book that he had written. The gentleman that replied to me may be familiar to some people on the show. His name is Stu Mills. He played with a band called Hackensack. I listened to some of their stuff. It's really cool. You can find it on YouTube. So he send it. There's a copy of the book in the mail. I haven't received it yet, but if we get information from that book that's relevant, I can tack it in the show notes after. So check deeppurplepodcast.com if you're interested. And what we're going to be doing tonight is just speculation on who could have played what. And you'll hopefully, if we get any more information from the book, we can have some stuff in the show notes to either correct that or verify what our suspicions
Hmm.
are.
I feel like I'd be able to pick out Naomi right away.
Yeah, I've got my
I mean, he's
suspicions.
really, you know,
I've got my suspicions on
yeah,
Naomi.
he's very distinctive.
And
Yeah.
we, Rich and I agreed Ian Pace on one track for sure. We think, um, but with some of it, it's hard to tell because it's not this the style of this album is not very much in Pace's or Iommi's natural wheelhouse. Um,
All right.
So it was produced by Bobby Harris and Matthew Fisher, who we've talked about both of them, and Steve Rowland. Steve Rowland had worked with the Herd, Snafu, Babe Ruth, and Jimmy Helms. So there's some connections. Snafu, Babe Ruth, which is Bernie Marsden's band, and Jimmy Helms, who we talked about just a couple weeks ago, right? And the Wizards convention. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, so that's it. Um, the album art is really fun. Kind of this was my first when I looked up this album. This is what I saw, and um, share the screen with you. So that's the album. It says Bobby Harrison in cursive on the sky, and then there's a big orange like coming up like a sunset, and it says Funkist on it, like Sunkissed orange, Funkist. It's like the same font and everything. So I thought it was just kind of a funny
Ha ha
concept for an.
ha.
I mean, yeah, it's funny, yeah, not like laugh out loud funny, but
Yeah.
it's just like a
No, but I,
bizarre concept for an album where you're gonna call it Funkist, which is a cool name for an album, but you're gonna like use the orange sun-kissed motif. Just very bizarre. This is like a little barn
is
or something
the
in the foreground,
album
and then this is kind of raising up.
is the album funky?
Well, we will see. I think some tracks certainly are. I think Bobby Helms was admittedly getting into like a funky kind of soul R&B sort of stuff as the direction he was looking to go. There's definitely tracks on here that are very funky. There's no question about it, and you know how I feel about that, and that is I feel good about that. Um, so that's the front cover. Back cover is just Bobby Harrison on the microphone, and Bobby Harrison was a drummer, so he plays drums on some of these tracks. He played drums with Procol Harum, I believe. But he's also a singer, and as you'll see, I think a singer that's going to be up your alley. Um, and it's pretty
Mm.
nondescript. It's just side A, side B, track listing, who wrote the songs, and then, like I said, it says special thanks to, and that lists all the. It's funny to say special thanks to the people who played on the album. It's kind of the least you could do, but it just lists all their names, and then we're kind of left to figure out who did what. So hopefully, with a little luck, we'll get an answer pretty soon. And then the record's pretty simple right there. Little track listing of side one, track listing of side two, and then that's a CD that got released in 2000, incidentally on Angel Air Records, the same company that released the Ian Gillan band Live at the Rainbow that we covered last week. So all of these are kind of just weird coincidences, but that's where we're at. Okay, so um, that artwork was done by Greg Hodel, who had previously done a release by Snafu, and there was a talk that Roger Dean was going to do a album cover for this, but that it may not have been released, or maybe it was a rumor. Roger Dean did a lot of Uriah Heep and Yes and Asia. You know, he's very distinctive style. Those like weird alien sort of looking landscapes. Really cool artist. So he did a lot of work on that. You keep going like this, are you? You look like you're telling me I have something on my
Huh?
face. You're like,
No, I'm
you got spinach in your teeth.
no. I don't know. For some reason, I'm fiddling around with my face. I'll stop it.
It's okay. I just was like, I keep
I'm
thinking
giving
like
you like hand signals, like Nate, Nate.
you're forgetting something. I just feel like if I ate like a giant eclair right before the show and I just had a smudge of like whipped cream in my beard or something. um, so
No,
yeah,
no, that
that's
wasn't it. I'm just, I don't know. I'm fidgeting.
so
Sorry.
not a lot about the artwork for the album, but there's a little more information in our show notes. But that's kind of the lead up to this album. Again, it's a unique one-off sort of album, which I think I don't want to call it, and I don't want to put any ideas. The more I have listened to it, the more I have liked it. So it'll be interesting to hear someone with so much, like 3 weeks experience listening to this album versus you with your first take. But on my first take, I was very happy with it. So there you go. And before we get into the tracks, we of course have to thank our core level patrons. At the $6.66 tier, Richard Fusey, Steve Coldwell, and Arthur Smith. At the $6.65 almost evil tier, we have Kenny Wymore. At the $5.99 nice price tier, we have Fielding Fowler and Dr. Jill Brees. At the $5 moneylender tier, Greg Sealby, John Convery, German Heindel, Adrian Hernandez, Jesper Alman, Alexei the Perfect Stranger Slepikoff, James North, Mark Hodgetts, Kev Roberts, Will Porter, Zwapper the Electric Alchemist, and Tim Southern Cross Johnson. And at the $3 Nobody's Perfect tier, Peter Gardot, Ian DeRosier, Mark Roback, Anton Glaving, Andrew Meyer, Duncan Leask, and Stuart McCord. Thank you so much, Stuart McCord. I don't know if he has the album to listen to before we do the episode or after, but he probably has the whiskey available. Thank you so much to all of you for supporting the Deep Purple podcast. Whew. All right. Well, after this calamitous last 24 hours, are you ready to listen to some funky mid-70s music?
I'm intrigued.
You're intrigued? Well, that's good. I'm glad you're intrigued. Hopefully this will live up to what your imagination is thinking about. And I'm, we have got a lot of great listeners to the show who've got a lot of vast experience with Deep Purple, but I would be willing to bet this is going to be a new one for a lot of people. Definitely not even on my, it might be on my master list I have somewhere of all the things that people from Deep Purple performed on, but definitely hadn't given it any more thought than potentially writing it on a spreadsheet a few years ago. So here we go. The opening track is a track with an awesome name. It's called Cleopatra Jones. Reminds me of like Shaft or something.
Baby, you walk right. You smile and you talk right. Baby, you move right. Everything you do is right.
What a groove.
You move like
Right.
a desert wind. You make me wanna love you again and again. You're so sweet and strong. Yeah, you keep me from doing wrong. You got me doing things I don't wanna do. I don't mind, baby. I'm so in love with you. So in love with
So what do you think of Bobby Harrison's voice?
I gotta think about it. I gotta get used to it a little bit.
you. Baby, you took me.
And the song's a little
It's
bit
like it
of
has
an
a lot of the qualities in it that
Struck me.
I like, but
It seems like a voice you would like. This song is a little bit of an outlier. It's written by someone else, and
You taught me how to give.
Joe Simon, an American R&B singer and record producer.
You're so sweet
Yeah.
and strong. Yeah, you can do no wrong. Touch me like the desert
It was arranged by a guy who did a lot of
wind. Make
film scores, and he had Oscar nominations. So you can tell it sounds like sounds like it would be the theme for a movie or something.
yeah.
To me, I'm hearing a lot of like Coverdale in his voice. the way he can hit those high notes, but it sounds like that same level of like strain that Coverdale has when he tries to go up high like that. Kind of that general huskiness that he has regularly.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel as natural. It's more of like a clean sound. It's not as gravelly.
No.
Doesn't have the same personality. I still gotta get used to it. And like you said, if this track's an outlier, maybe I like him better on some of the other ones.
Yeah, it's a little bit. I mean, it's an outlier. Like I said, it's got that kind of over the top arrangement and making it sound like a film score and stuff like that. So it's a little different in that regard.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it really was. It was kind of.
But that's Cleopatra Jones. What do you think of Cleopatra Jones?
Let me see. Get into the. Do you even have it entered in the? Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I snuck it in there. I snuck it in there when you weren't looking.
Just appeared in the document. I mean, I hate to say that I wasn't like really blown away, so I give it like a 3.
All right.
I mean, it had a lot. It had some good elements in it, but it sounded like I think the vocals were like a little bit over the top for a song like this. It sounded kind of laid back, kind of like one style. The vocals are, kind of another style. I mean, I agree. He's kind of like, I was thinking like, okay, he's got the range of like, Gillan, Hughes. You pointed out that he kind of has that raspiness of like a Coverdale, but just not quite there for me on this song. So,
all right.
Yeah, not really the strongest opener. So I'm kind of like, I'm hoping the rest of it will be better, seeing as you sung its praises so much.
Well, I really like this. I give this opener a 4.5. I love the orchestration, the arrangement. I like that. So in love with you. It's just like I love the sound of his voice. I love the whole arrangement of it. I think it's just it hooked me in immediately, even though the album kind of takes a different turn after this. I really dug it. So the next track up is a track called Whiskey Head, and this one Rich and I agreed suspect that Paice is playing drums on this one, but let's see what your take is now that I've told you what our take is. Here we go. Whiskey Head. Kind of like a 12-bar blues, but it's a really kind of funky, and it reminds me of like Spectrum or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say Tommy Bolin would have been at home on this song.
Oh yeah.
Whiskey bottles my medicine.
That sounds like Coverdale. I think that's why the way he delivers on this song reminds me of Coverdale.
Goddamn, that's the only way to get my feet back on the ground. Yeah. Ain't nothing else any good for me. No. When I'm way back down. One bottle of whiskey will do me. When I'm down on the ground.
So this track was written by Bobby Harrison and Walter Monahan.
The song's got a great groove.
Yeah, do you see what we're saying about the Ian Paice? It sounds like it could be him. Almost reminds me of like Albert King or something at this part.
Yeah, I'm thinking it might be Pace
Listen to that guitar.
because of some of those fills in there, you know?
Yeah, it sounds like his style. Funny that I could bang out something so quick like this, and it sounds like such a cohesive band.
Right?
Whiskey bottle blues. Yeah, son. When I'm down
Something about the little thing is like he kind of trails off the way Coverdale does. Like, yeah, so just kind of has those little moments. I feel like Coverdale does that a lot.
back on the ground.
But when you watch Coverdale do it, it's like he's like almost he puts so much of his body into it. It's almost like at the end it's like involuntary because he's just given all of his breath to a line.
This is what he said. Oh, about the whiskey was through me. When I'm down on the ground.
This part almost reminds me of like a
Yeah,
mix
he said,
between
sorry, son, but you got whiskey bottle
like this song
blues.
might have been a good
That's what you
fit
suffer
on
from.
Green Bullfrog.
That's what the doctor said to me. There ain't nothing else any good for you. I'm afraid, son, you're just a whiskey head. Woo! Now get on.
Yeah, that part right there had to be Pace.
You're just a whiskey head.
And it's hard to tell because it's not his drum tone, his drum sound.
Right. I'm working with a different.
Like I feel like, you know, his usual drum sound is different, so you have to kind of rely on like, you know, what's his style, recognizing, you know, stuff that he does stylistically.
And if that's Matthew Fisher on the keys and that little organ in the background, that might be what's giving me the strong Green Bullfrog vibes on this one. All right. So what do you think about Whiskey Head?
I give Whiskey Head a 3.5. I thought it was a decent track. Yeah, good groove. I liked it.
All right. I give Whiskey Head a 4. I feel like a broken record because we talk about this all the time. Again, something that's kind of a standard 12-bar blues that they turn into something a little more interesting. And I think it did do a really good job with it. So, all right, next track up, we have the track Thinking About You. And I think going into this, we can probably just say that I'm pretty sure this has got to be Mickey Moody on guitar on this one. So let's take a look. This song to me sounds like early Whitesnake. Let's take a listen.
Such a short time, not even a week. Since you said we'll try, baby, to get back on our
Yeah.
feet. Time passed so quickly. The next thing I knew, I was alone in a room thinking about you.
Tell me this isn't a Whitesnake song. I mean, come on.
We'll see each other again.
Yeah, it really does.
I mean, it
really
sounds like
does
they
sound like, you know, something off the first couple of Whitesnake albums.
And this is like 5 or 6 years before, recorded at least 5 or 6 years before Whitesnake even put out anything out.
Oh yeah, that sounds like a guitar solo off one of the first two Coverdale solo albums right there. So
Yep. Yeah, it could have been
gotta
off
be
North,
Mickey Moody.
North Winds or something.
yeah,
super short song, only 2.5 minutes, in and out. 2.5 minutes, and they still figured out a way to squeeze in a guitar solo. You got to admire that. Thinking About You. John, what are you thinking about you?
Honestly, I'm thinking about a 3.
Thinking about a 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, Nate. I think you might have built this up a little too much. Not overly impressed.
No?
I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad, but I mean, it's like it's not. I don't know. The recorded work is not blowing me away. It's like it just doesn't really sound like it doesn't really have any like the songs are good, or the songs are like okay, but I mean the performances just don't really have that energy, or production behind it that makes me believe in it. Even the vocalist is like everything sounds too measured. It's just like and the vocalist just kind of sounds like not as good a version as all the other singers that we mentioned before. It's like he has a range of Gillan or Hughes or the raspiness of Coverdale, but he's not them. And I mean, not like directly, without even directly comparing him to him. It's like when I hear singers or like musicians or songs and I'm like, oh, that reminds me of this, but it's like it's not like a great version of it. It's just like a pretty good version of it. So maybe I'm hoping that the album is just like working up to a slow burn or something for me, because it's just like it's okay.
All right. Well, if you're not careful, I might have to just switch into the album we were supposed to do tonight.
Oh, I see. You're trying to bribe me. Huh?
If you don't mind your P's and Q's,
You're trying to...
I'm just going to switch mid-episode. I like this track. I give it a 3.5. I think it's a good, solid. It sounds like a filler track from a Whitesnake, an early Whitesnake album, and I like that about it. And I like that it's just, to me, I disagree with what you're saying, and maybe it is a slow burn. I liked it the first time I heard it, but I feel like there's a lot of different little stylistic things they do on the album that kind of keeps it interesting. And it's it's a very short album, 8 tracks, like we like to see.
Mm-hmm.
It's not trying to be too much. But if the next track doesn't work for you, I don't know where to go from there. But this next track is called King of the Night.
Oh, it's kind of a dark vibe to it.
Yeah. And I've got my suspicions that this might be an Iommi track.
Yeah, I was gonna say this. I feel like that's almost like an Iommi riff or melody.
I saw you reclining, you reminded me of slave.
Even
But
though
it
Iommi
sounds like
doesn't
something that would be like off like Sabotage or something,
Yeah, exactly. And even though he doesn't get songwriting credits, it just sounds like something he would have written. I could hear Dio or Ozzy singing the song.
But I mean, if he does in fact play guitar on this, I would see why they would have chosen him for this song. But we'll see.
And this is the closer for the first side of the album.
The mirror of myself, I kept
I love the riff and the groove on this one.
It's very good.
You're gone in the morning with no warning, reason or care, no. The day is dawning, and there's plenty of time to be friendly.
There's like a little bit of like piano doubling in the background on the riff that kind of gives it like a Jethro Tull feel too.
That surrounds you, gives you a feeling that's so high. It takes you up, it lets you down, it makes you clown, it makes you ride. But you said I'm your true love. Say there's no one you could above me. You can't touch me 'cause I'm the king of the night.
An interesting Ray Fenwick has a song called Queen of the Night, so if those two got together, who knows what could happen.
Be inside of you. Maybe then I'll be the king of the night. Ooh, yeah.
It's like a super like Pink Floyd sort of vibe to this little interlude. Although if Pink Floyd did it, it would have lasted like 11
Oh, yeah.
minutes. It sounds like straight out of Dark Side of the Moon. Where they kind of like fake out like it's gonna like build back up, and then they take you back to the Pink Floyd part.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna bust into a guitar solo or something.
This is like the simplest possible riff, but I never get. I never get. It should be to me. It should be repetitive, but I never get tired of it.
You were gone in the morning with no warning, reason or care, no. The day is dawning, and there's plenty of time to be fair, no. The night is a blanket that surrounds you, gives you a feeling that's so high. It takes you up, it lets you down, it makes you down, it makes you ride.
A little bit more information on some of the songs on the second side of this album, but we only have our guess. I'm assuming Matthew Fisher's playing the keys on this, and we have our guesses about Ione.
You can't touch me 'cause I'm the king of the night. Maybe you say that I lie to you. I only wanna be inside of you. Only then I'll be the king of the night.
This has to be an Ione solo. There goes that dun, 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 that classic Ione little run.
Yeah. That's Ione.
Beatles song on the piano in the background. At least not playing the same thing anymore.
So what year was the album?
It was recorded in 72, but released in 75.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was doing that kind of wah-wah stuff like back then. His lead tone was kind of like that, and kind of the start-stop thing and the way that he flutters his notes when he does a solo, it's very distinctive. So it's like it wasn't like full-on Iommi where you're like, yep, but I mean it was enough where I'm like, that had to have been him. Plus the fact that I mean like the riff literally sounded like it was something off of like Sabbath Bloody Sabbath or Sabotage or something like that, just one of those kind of, and like we said, even though he didn't write it, it was obviously, they were probably, he probably walked in and was like, bloody hell, that's perfect for me. That's
I was like,
my
oh man,
best Tony Iommi.
One riff. That's your best. If that's your best, don't. I'd hate to hear your second best. But yeah, I mean, yeah, he probably was just like, man, that's one riff I should have written. I could definitely.
Yeah.
Hearing that, I could just instantly hear it on an early Sabbath or even Dio era. It just sounds like a riff that would have worked well.
Mm-hmm.
King of the Night. What do you think about King of the Night?
It may surprise you. I am still going to give a 3.5.
All right.
It was a little long. It was a little long for me. I mean, I enjoyed the riff, but I mean, after a while, it was very like, the song felt like it was 7 minutes.
Yeah. And I've mostly listened.
Long.
I've mostly listened to this just while driving around and stuff like that, and it's a different experience. I will give this one a 4.5 just because there's something about it, and even though the riff is very repetitive, there's a lot that in this song that should not rank it a 4.5 for me, but I like the cool different arrangement, and there's something about usually like repetitive things like that don't agree with me, but there's something about certain I don't even know how to describe it, but certain like patterns that I really enjoy, and this is one of them. So there you go. That's the first side of the album. We're looking at a pretty big spread in our rankings. This could overturn Who Do We Think We Are as our most disagreed on album.
Maybe.
So we'll have to
Might.
see here. We'll see where we go, because I'm ranking pretty high and you're kind of more on the average.
Yeah,
so.
I'm disappointed. Oh, well, I mean, I'm disappointed. I'm sorry. I'm just like yawned in the middle of my thought here. I'm disappointed I'm always disappointed when you and I don't have the same enthusiasm for an album.
Well, it's all right. I've only 3 weeks ago, I didn't even know this album existed. So I don't have a lot invested into it, but I do really I'm digging it. So, all right, we'll turn it over to the second side here, and that begins with a track called Little Linda Lovejoy. Super dry drum sound there.
This riff slaps.
Would you say it's a bop, John? I heard that's what the kids are saying lately.
Yeah, it's fire.
That's a little old.
Oh well.
This song is fat.
All right, I just failed. It's fat. No, people are saying that. They go, "Ooh, this is fire."
Yeah, but they've been saying that for a while.
Like old. Yeah, but old, like how old? Like 6 months old or like 10 years old?
No, it's been around for a while. That's fire. All the young kids that I work
I don't know. I've been hearing it.
have been saying it for a while.
I've been hearing it lately.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying they don't still say it. I'm just saying it's been around for a while.
This is Butters.
And this much like the previous track was written by the same two guys, Sargent and Harrison. Bob Sargent. She's a Libra lady. That's like the super 70s. And here this has got to be another.
I thought he said she's. I thought he said she's a legal lady.
Legal? Or maybe it's lethal.
Yeah.
This has got to be another Mickey Moody solo, I'm thinking. Grooving on that slide. Actually sounds like it could be a Tommy Bolin riff. Trying to think of what song it is that he has that's got a riff kind of similar to this one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Is this something from the second Zephyr album?
I was thinking like Private Eyes or something.
Yeah. Actually, no, I'm thinking of it's something from James Gang Miami. I can't think of the name of the song.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, okay, that makes
You
a
know
little
what
bit
I'm
more
talking about?
sense.
I just can't think of the name of it.
Yeah. Oh, because the vocalist is kind of similar to that vocalist too, if I am remembering
Yeah, he's
right.
got some Penner vibes to him. She's a Libra lady. I think it's...
Oh yeah.
I gotta look up these lyrics. I don't even know if I'll be able to find them. All right, that was Little Linda Lovejoy.
Libra Lady. I mean, Little Linda Lovejoy.
Little Linda Libra.
Lovelace Lovejoy. Yeah, some of these, these song titles are kind of weird. Some of them.
That's the 70s, baby. So did that bring you any love or joy or both? And if so, how many love or joy units out of 5 did you get from that song?
Like 3.
3? I thought you were digging that riff.
I was. But I mean, it's just.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, it didn't. Yeah. I did. It was, but I mean, I don't know. It's like I'm not. The vocalist is kind of unremarkable. Sorry.
I think he's great.
I don't really like. He's not doing anything for me, and neither are the songs. The songs aren't going anywhere. They're just like plotting, and they're kind of boring. I'm digging them, and I'm going like this, but I'm just like, all right, like nothing is standing out.
All right. Well, I give little
First
Linda
listen is not.
Little Linda Lovejoy at 3.5. This experiment is going very badly. All right. Next up, we have a track called Spotlight. So here we go. Get out the lighters part of it.
If I ever feel the light again, shine tell you how welcome it will be. I felt the light before, but I let it slip away. But I still keep on believing that it'll come back someday. It's not the spotlight, not even the camera light.
This kind of reminds me of, well, before the chorus, which is very
Some old street
70s with the wah guitar and everything. Kind of sounds like a
the moonlight, not
Blood, Sweat, and
even the
Tears
sunlight.
B-side or something.
But I've seen it shining in your
And was written by someone else, Barry Goldberg
Oh, it was?
and Gerald Goffin. Were some Barry Goldberg actually worked with Ted Neely on his solo album,
just a fantasy.
and Louis Goffin, he had like a ton of credits. He's the same guy that wrote who wrote The Locomotion.
If your memory really serves you well, then never tell
Who, the guy that wrote this?
Yeah, right. Funny. He was married to Gerald Goffin. He was married to Carole King for 10 years. Worked with her on a lot of projects, which is not hard to believe.
Who, the bass player?
No, the songwriter. He sounds like,
Oh,
hear this being on a Carole King album.
yeah, I like the horn arrangements in here.
Yeah, I mean, I could totally understand many people associate that as, I'm sure people that grew up 10 years younger than me associate that as like a cheesy sound that they don't like. Some people, the way that I hate like 80s keyboard sounds or 80s drum sounds, but to me, I love that. Like schmaltzy strings and horn arrangements, like I think it works really well. Did you say Street of Dreams?
I think I heard that.
See, the connections just keep coming. Major like AM radio vibes from this one.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
But this is once again from an era where the albums were get in and get out, not overstaying their welcome, kind of short. So what do you think of Spotlight? How many spotlights are you going to shine on it?
I give it 3.5 spotlights. The other one only has one bulb. The 0.5. But no, it's yeah, I thought that was enjoyable. That sounded, like you said, sounded like a AM radio song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of liked where that went. You know, it was it grabbed me a little bit.
I will also give that one a 3.5. Kind of well, I'll talk about that later. But anyway, yeah, 3.5 for me as well. I think it's kind of a solid 70s filler track. Works really well on the album. So all right, next track up is a track called Looking for a Friend. I'm sorry. Whoa, wait, what? No, Long Gone. Sorry. Long Gone is the next track. Oof, that was close. Got some dirty piano to start it off. Love that guitar tone.
Nice.
Get that like Leslie sounding kind of keyboards in the background. Like sounds like a Fender Rhodes through a Leslie speaker maybe. And this track was written by Bobby Harrison and Mickey Moody. We got Mickey Moody on guitar, Matthew Fisher on keys, Bobby Harrison's doing the drums, and Chrissy Stewart on bass. They redid this when they got into Snafu because this album hadn't come out yet, so there's a Snafu version of the song as well. They said this is kind of like a standard song about being a rock star on the road, so not a lot of well-worn material, but wasn't quite as played out in 1972. Love Mickey Moody's playing on this.
Yeah, this is good.
Reminds me of reminds me a little of like Gimme Shelter. It's kind of the vibe of it anyway. Not that it necessarily sounds like the song, but maybe it's just that kind of that swirly kind of dank sounding electric piano sound that makes it sound like that way. I like what Chrissy Stewart's doing on the bass. Nice little fills there. Tasty fills.
Like what he's doing on the lead guitar.
Yeah, the lead guitar is fantastic. His lead tone was really reminding me of a song too. I just can't put my finger on it right now. So that Mickey Moody just wondering if they've faded out yet, noodling around. Long fade out on that one. Well, before it's long gone, what do you rank it?
Yeah, pretty some pretty decent stuff in there. 3.5.
Contemplation. 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I will.
Yep, some good guitar playing,
I-
and a cool groove.
Really good groove. I will also give it a 3.5. We're locking up on the last two songs. I think it's a really good example of some early Mickey Moody soloing. Good. Again, it fits in with a lot of the other songs on the album. That it's listening to it in this context. I think maybe some of these songs are a little longer than they need to be, but to me, the album grooves well enough that it doesn't really bother me like it might on some other albums. Like I might think a song's going on too long. Like to me, this seems like the musicians on it are playing so well that I don't mind that some of these songs go on a little longer. So, all right, last track up to conclude the album is a song for real this time, "Looking for a Friend."
I'm looking for a friend.
Is this Bobby Harrison's Beth?
Oh, help me in my search.
For some reason, that's what I'm thinking of right now. I hadn't thought about that in previous
Show
listens.
me if you can.
Give the drummer the mic and I'm gonna sing a sad, sad song.
Is in your hand.
As Chris L would say, never give the drummer a mic.
Lord, help me find some peace. I'm looking but cannot see. I need your help to find my long lost piece of mind. I can see our share of love. Ain't no one who can say no. Only you, dear Lord, can help me
Has some kind of
my long lost piece of mind.
very traditional ending song, sort of ballad stuff going on.
Lord, help me find some.
I like it.
I'm looking
Kind of has that
but cannot see.
what's it making me think of? Something from the Butterfly Ball.
Need your help to find
Oh, now the show's over.
Yeah, that. Yep. Right there.
I can see our share of love. Ain't no one who can
Yeah, I hadn't heard that connection, but I get that.
I mean, it's got the same vibe.
Yeah.
You know that. You know. Well, we're wrapping it up now, and it's sad.
Yeah. It's like the play me off music. It's like, all right, everybody, start making your way to the exits. We really don't want to make this into a big thing. There's not going to be an encore. We slowly raise the house lights. The original title for the song was "Please Beat It." I wonder if that one is a Bobby Harrison on drums. Hard to tell. That was Looking for
Yeah.
a Friend. John, what are you looking for when you rate this song?
Hmm.
Deep in thought.
I mean, I kind of enjoyed it. I mean, I like that. I don't know. I like that emotional, like what did you call it? Play me off music.
Mhm. Play me out.
That was pretty nice. It made me, yeah, it made me think of that kind of butterfly ball type thing. It was kind of nice.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I give it a 3.5.
All right.
Very nice.
All right. I will give this one a 3. I think it's a good kind of. You have a few ways you can end an album. To me, I wonder maybe if they ended it with King of the Night, would that have had more of an impact? I don't know, but yeah, it kind of reminds me of the "We Wish You Well," but uh, but
Yeah.
but twice as long, or more. Yeah, but yeah, it's about twice as long as that, if not longer, actually.
Yeah.
So I think if it had been done like something a little shorter, if there was another song in this album, then they just kind of stuck this on as a final track and a "We Wish You Well" is like like 90 seconds, so it
Yeah.
works
Very
it
short.
works
Yeah.
well in that context. But when you try to stretch that kind of song out for so long, it's like, okay, I get it. It's over. It's time to leave. So yeah, it's not by any means my favorite track on the album, but it's interesting because I going into this, I thought that you were gonna I thought that you were not going to like the second half of the album, but I thought you would like the first half. So I was,
Hmm.
you actually ranked the second half of the album higher than the first half. And,
Interesting.
um, yeah, like yeah, I was, because to me, I think the first half of this album I think is really strong and I like it a lot. And then the second half is, some good songs, but nothing like crazy like the first half. But I love the first side of this album.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I was expecting something a lot different. The way that you were really raving about it, I'm like, okay, this is going to be some great stuff. And I mean, it's not to say it wasn't. I mean, it could be great stuff to whoever likes it, but I just think that what we both consider, you know, I don't know. This is just one of the ones that I didn't really like as much.
I'm surprised you didn't like Cleopatra Jones.
Yeah, no, it didn't do it for me. The singer was like the only thing I can think about is like there's like these there was another singer like another vocalist and what was the band? Because I don't really listen to them a lot, but I heard some of their stuff. I think it was Blackfoot.
I don't know them.
Have you heard them?
No.
They're like I think they're like a southern rock band. They weren't like I don't think they were too big, but it was another kind of like vocalist similar to that was like I if like and I haven't heard him in a while, so I could be wrong, but I remember I thinking like, wow, he's like a Mark Farner from Grand Funk Railroad, but not as good. So you know what I mean? It's just like those people that are just like, yeah, he's that style of vocalist, but it's like I can probably see why they didn't reach, the heights or do anything more.
Right.
Um, uh, maybe just not as much mass appeal. But I mean, I admit I like mass appeal stuff. I like some kind of far out there stuff too. But whatever the combo in this was, didn't really like I think hit me the way that you thought it was going to.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough.
So
Um, Now the real question will be, how does this rank against the album we were supposed to do tonight when we revisit when we actually do that album, which may be next week. I don't know.
interesting, interesting. Well, right now the Funkist is kind of mid to low range. There is like um 7.06 combined. So there's only a 0.44 variance.
Which is maybe our second biggest variance. Let's see. No, it's the same variance we had on Play Me Out, and Who Do
Mhm.
We Think We Are? It still reigns supreme. Clear Turbulence was close with a 0.42, but this is
Mhm.
and another 0.44 is Stormbringer,
Well, interesting that this sits
tied for second
right
place in variance.
below Share Kazoo by Ian Gillan, but it ranks slightly better than Deep Purple's self-titled album and Child in Time by Ian Gillan Band, which, yeah, it's oh, that's funny. It's hanging around a bunch of Ian Gillan Band albums if you look at it on the ratings.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's between Scarabus and Child in Time.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say like I mean, I'll be honest, I wouldn't listen to it again.
You wouldn't?
No.
Tell you, man, King of the Night on the
No.
Highway. Whew, it's great.
I mean, I've gone in like and like heard, you know, like albums like especially ones that we've done before and been like, oh, I don't know if I remember not liking this, and then like giving it a second chance or like going back and listening to some stuff. Like I feel like I did that with the Rainbow's debut album and Play Me Out, Glenn Hughes, were two that I can remember where I was just like, especially Rainbow, where I'm like, oh, this is like overall isn't as great as I remember. And then there were a couple of songs later on that like got stuck in my head the day after the episode, and I was like, oh, I should have rated that higher.
Yeah.
Type of thing. So I don't know if that's going to happen with this. Just because I think it suffered from, you know, from my point of view, from kind of that repetitive, you know, riff syndrome or song syndrome, and the songs were kind of like really measured, you know, kind of like plotting.
You think it had to do with like the tempo, or
maybe? I mean, like there was like, and I mean, I said that there was some good, you know, riffs and melodies in there, and there was some like, you know, good like, you know, some funky bass and some horn, swells and stuff in there and like horn sections, but it's like not really enough to sway me.
all right, fair enough. Yeah, my ranking was pretty much the second half of the album was on par with you, but the first half, I guess what hooked me in initially was the first side, and particularly the Cleopatra Jones, Whiskey Head, and King of the Night. I thought were super strong songs. But yeah, I see what you're saying. I personally really love his vocals and delivery and all that. And I know like the tempo, the whole tempo, there's nothing on the album that's like really super up tempo. It's all, like you said, very measured, very very much in that, you know, that's very, very slow tempo. But to me, I like it. It's kind of that song in particular sounding like a early Sabbath tune. But anyway,
Yeah.
there you go. We don't often have albums where there's that much disagreement, but it's good to have them because, well, we're not always really. We have songs that we disagree on a lot, but generally our rankings aren't super far off.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing. And again, we'll have to see how it ranks. The album that we're going to do perhaps next week is an album that both of us are familiar with, but probably haven't listened to in 25 years. If you're anything like me, you haven't listened to this album in 25 years.
Oh, probably not.
And haven't really had any desire to either.
Probably not. I mean, we're going back and been like, oh, I wonder if this is, you know, like I thought it was, and then put it on. I was like, yeah, okay.
Yep. It's yeah, I know it was definitely the 90s the last time I heard this album. So
wow.
I'm actually, even though you're not looking forward to it, I'm kind of looking forward to it because I'm interested to hear the album again in a different light, even though I don't think I'm going to particularly like it. But,
hey, you never know. Maybe we'll surprise ourselves.
Yeah, which ends up getting really, really high scores. We're dishing out 4s and 4.5s.
Beats out Blizzard of Oz.
I I wouldn't.
No, no, I wouldn't bank on that one.
No, that's fool's money. So before we get to the conclusion here, I just want to thank our foundation level patrons at the $1 made up name tier: Els Murders, Spacey Noodles, The Untightened Leaky Mausoleum, Michael Vader, Stephen Somerville, the Concerto 1999 fanatic, Rafcaf, Spike the Rock Cat, JJ Stenard, Hank the Tank, and Flight of the Rat Bat Blue Light. Thank you to all of you for your support for the Deep Purple podcast. So quick notes about this album. It was released and got to number 76 in the Billboard charts. Harrison said he never received any money from Capitol Records from the album's release. He was upset. They did this album with all of these great musicians, and then it just got put basically on ice for 3 years. After this album, Harrison and Moody formed Snafu, which we talked about earlier, and Pete Solly was also in that band with them, who would go on to join Whitesnake. Harrison says, bringing together a bunch of top quality players like the ones I had in this album can work out very well, but it can also be a total disaster. I was very lucky it worked well. We worked with some very famous studios too, mainly Olympics #1, but a few tracks were also done at Trident and Morgan. I remember clearly doing the tracks with Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath at Morgan. So he talks about doing the tracks, but doesn't say which one. But of course, we have our suspicions.
Yes.
So Snafu released their first album right after this was recorded in 1973. In the early 90s, Snafu broke up and Harrison moved to Iceland. And Bob Harrison is currently in a band called Journey that plays Christian-oriented rock in Essex. So it's funny that he's in a band called Journey, but it's not like the
The Journey.
It's funny to name your band the name of one of the most famous bands ever, like just after the fact. I'm trying to think of the equivalent, like just like John, let's form a band. Like we're gonna call ourselves Aerosmith.
I was gonna say, hey, what do you think of the Beatles?
I mean, I wanted to back it off a little bit from the Beatles, but Journey, I mean, come on, that's a pretty popular band.
And we'll spell it Beetles.
To avoid any legal problems.
You know what I mean? I get what you mean, though. Yeah, let's call it Aerosmith. ARROW Smith.
Aerosmith. Yeah, there you go. Well, this is not even spelled differently. It's just Journey. You know, it's the same. You know, it's just like why not Foreigner? What's the? It's just so strange that you would do that. I mean, granted, clearly it's not an issue. They're playing Christian-oriented rock in Essex. It's not people. But I bet somewhere somebody had to show up for one of their shows. Oh, cool! Journey's playing. I'm like, wait, what is this?
They get in there and they're like, the fuck? They're like all pissed off.
I've seen a Christian rock. You know, I thought those $5 tickets were a little inexpensive.
Misleading.
But
did you? The last time I went to, I don't know why this made me think of it, was like somewhat like in the early to mid 90s. I don't know if I told this story. I feel like I did. It'll be really quick. I saw Peter Criss at a show, and he was doing a solo show, and it was at a club. So he wasn't, setting the world on fire. He never did with his solo career.
Was he setting heaven on fire?
No.
Okay.
That was after his time.
Give me some credit here.
But I mean, I remember the tickets were like cheap. It was like, I want to say it was like $5. It was just what made me think of it. Yeah. And I mean, that's like, say, 1994 money, which by 2021 money probably still isn't a lot if you calculate inflation.
1994 money, that was what I was making in an hour under the table. As a dishwasher.
But I mean, it was a decent show. But I mean, you figure who's going to show up for a Peter Criss show, right? Like diehards at that point. Like, you're going to have a casual fan like, I wonder what this is. Yeah, right. So, he does his set, and I can't remember what he was like, stuff from his new album. Obviously he was doing some Kiss stuff, and then he left. Yep. And people are waiting for the encore, and so the club kind of got quiet, and then some guy just yelled out from the back like, "Come on, we want our $5 worth." And I'm like, it's just like, what an asshole. It's just like, who
That's just mean.
That's my whole point though, is like, who goes to a Peter Chris show, right? Diehards, and who's a dick enough to yell that, like, just basically being like, yeah, like, it's bad enough that he's like, it's only worth $5 to get in, but the guy's got to like highlight it to everybody in the audience, like.
It'd be great. He played for like 3 hours. And it's like, we want our $5 for.
Oh, it was a
And
pretty.
get an encore. Did he do Beth?
Oh yeah,
Okay,
yeah. I
so
remember
there
he
you go.
did like
You
an
know what?
acoustic version of it.
If you go to see Peter Chris at a small club and you pay $5, he just comes on and does Beth and then leaves. You've gotten your $5 worth.
Right.
Even in $1994, it's like, what more can you possibly expect?
Right. Exactly. But that's what that I don't even remember where this whole thing came from, but you said something about $5.
I'm glad I did. No, I don't remember you ever telling that story before. That's a great one.
Yeah, no, these things just kind of hit me. Come on, boo! He should have just said boo. It would have been more dignified. Boo!
Poor Peter Chris.
But anyways,
well, there you go. That might be one of our shorter full album reviews.
Yeah, we really. I didn't go too much into my ratings. I'm like, yeah, 3. It was good. Next.
Well, I mean, this was sprung on you, trying
Yeah,
something
that's
different to shock you. I also just wanted to, given the day that we've both had, give you a temporary stay of execution on the album we're about to. Because even before the episode, you're like, oh God, we got to do this album. So it went from, oh God, I can't believe we have to do this album, to like, it was okay, which is an upgrade at least. I was thinking it might take it to the next level and it'd be like actually a treat. But hey, just the fact that we pushed off the inevitable for at least one more week should give you some peace of mind.
I was hoping for a treat, which now, like 10 past 11 at night, which is what it is now, I'm going to have to get an actual treat from the kitchen after we're done, because my sweet tooth is now acting up.
Oh, for sure.
So
Yeah, I'll be. My wife got some one of the variety pack of drumsticks for the kids. So yeah, but I've snuck in there and strategically picked off all the caramel ones. You can't get the caramel ones. They used to sell a box of just the caramel ones, because let's face it, those are the best ones. The chocolate fudge one, okay. The regular vanilla with nothing in the center, get out of here with that. Nobody wants that. You want the caramel one. But so I picked off all of those, and then I had to have a fudge one earlier because there was no caramel left. So we'll see. Well, maybe I'll grab another fudge one.
You had to suffer through the fudge. You're like, yeah, this sucks.
The fudge one's okay. The vanilla one with nothing in the center, I mean, come on. I don't know if for to our non-American listeners, maybe this is probably doesn't exist. They're called drumsticks. It's basically an ice cream cone with ice cream in it, and then in the center of the ice cream, running all the way down, is a filling of caramel, fudge, or in the case of the vanilla, nothing, which is it's just an ice cream cone, but it's covered in chocolate, and then like the chocolate is drizzled all the way down the ice cream cone in the inside, and then it's coated the ice cream, and then there's like little peanuts on the top. But the ice cream also, the chocolate also goes all the way to the bottom of the ice cream cone and collects in the bottom, and you get that nice little reservoir of hardened chocolate at the bottom. And so normally like the last bite of an ice cream cone is like kind of a letdown, because you're like, nothing in it, it's just a cone. But the last bite of a drumstick, it's filled with the melted chocolate that had gone down and frozen in the bottom of it. So you get this like nice chocolatey ice cream coney deliciousness as your last bite. If they don't have these in other countries, you got to visit America just for that. Fantastic. But they used to have the caramel ones, like you could get a 4-pack or an 8-pack of the caramel, but now you can only get them in a variety pack, and the variety pack is bullshit because there's things in it that you don't really like. I buy it just for the caramel ones, and the other ones, like, I guess I'll eat them if they're there, but it's got to be the caramel ones.
All right, hard stance on drumsticks.
I mean, am I wrong though? Am I wrong about drumsticks?
Well, I mean, I don't know, I've had a drumstick since I was like a kid, probably. I mean, but I mean, I remember they were like really good. But I mean, I have to agree with you. I mean, if there's like nothing in there, then okay, that's like, that's baloney. Um,
Yeah,
the
why do that to
caramel one
me?
sounds like it'd be like friggin' delicious because
Oh,
I
it's
mean,
great.
there's nothing wrong with a bunch of caramel, like especially if it pools at the bottom of something.
Yeah, but it's because it's the chocolate, like it's the chocolate shell on the outside of the ice cream cone with the
Yeah.
peanuts, and then you bite into that, and then you take another bite, and you get the like the caramel center, and then you go all the way down, get the chocolate enrobed from the inside cone. Fantastic stuff.
You know, what I haven't had in a while is like, you go to like a soft serve place, and you get like they do the thing where it swirls around and then they like, oh, can I have that chocolate dipped? And
Yep.
then they like I thought about it, right? Is the other day is like they used to turn that freaking thing upside down and just dip it in the chocolate and the whole like ice cream didn't just like fall into the dip. It never did. And
Yep.
it's like blows my mind. I'm like, how did they do that back then? Like, how did it hold?
I don't know.
You
I know the
know?
kids get that at Dairy Queen, but I'm I'm not a big fan of soft serve.
I mean, I would like to go for nostalgic reasons this summer. I'm hoping. I think there's a new ice cream place that opened up like in town near my parents' house, and like want to take my nieces when they
Hmm.
come home in a couple of weeks. And I just like to get a plain old because I mean, I go like I go out for dessert now, and I go like Caligula crazy. I'm just like, all right, just give me like just pile everything into a wheelbarrow and give me a shovel, and I'll just like pile it in and like just inhale it and then like feel shame for like 3 weeks.
Oh yeah.
But it's like I just want like a simple dessert. I want to go there and just be like, yeah, roll it in sprinkles or dip it in chocolate, like a small soft serve. Of course, when I get there, I'm gonna see like that they have like the triple brownie deluxe sundae and just be like, yeah, one of those, please, no spoons.
Shove my face in it.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, that's my family used to do that. We go out for dessert. I mean, dinner or whatever, and there'd be like dessert, and they'd be like, I'd order something, and they'd be like, yeah, and 4 spoons. I'm like, bullshit, 1 spoon,
One spoon and please write John on it.
1 spoon, and keep my parents and my brother away from it.
Only bring it when the rest of my family's gone to use the restroom.
Yeah, exactly. Oh.
Oh man.
Well, that was a fun tangent. Now I'm even
s-
more hungry for some chocolate or
Summer
whatever I
treats.
got in my cupboards.
Well, luckily we're ending this episode and we can both go shove our faces in the freezer and inhale all the frozen confections there that await us. But yes, until next week then, you have a fantastic evening and rest of your week.
You as well.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Deep Purple Podcast. If you like what you hear and would like more episodes in the future, please donate on Patreon to support the show. You can also leave us a review in Apple Podcasts to help new people discover the show. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook for show updates. See deeppurplepodcast.com for more details. Thank you for listening.